What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. For those that are new here, my name is Eric and this is my 2022 M340i X-Drive. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a couple of exterior mods that I think are really going to set off all of the other mods that we've done on the car so far. If you guys didn't see, we installed a set of TE37 SLs in the last video. The fitment's perfect, front and rear. We have no spacers, and I'm really stoked how this came out. First, let's go ahead and go over all the mods that we have done to the M340i, and then we'll go over what we're going to be doing in today's video. All right, guys, starting off on the rear end, we have a carbon fiber duckbill spoiler, as well as a gloss black diffuser. This is the YOFER style diffuser. We also have GTS style rear taillights from V-Land. These are their OLED taillights. Some of you guys might have noticed right here we have these rear bumper fins. These are actually a new mod that I've installed. These are just 3M tape and they go over the existing vents that are on the rear bumper, and I think they just make this rear end that much more aggressive. Next, we have these TE37 SLs in pressed graphite. These are a 19 by 9.5 with a positive 22 offset. They are wrapped in General G-Max tires. These are a 245 40 19 front and rear. That's a square setup with no spacers. One thing we installed is these M-style carbon mirror caps from Tactic Motorsports, as well as their LED sequential turn signal bulbs. In the engine bay, we have a JB4 installed, as well as an active AUTOWERKE catted downpipe. We also recently installed these headlight covers. In 2020, these came factory on the car, but anything 21 plus, these were actually discontinued, so you need to buy them aftermarket. All right, guys, now that we've shown you all the mods done to the M340i so far, let's go ahead and jump into this new mod. So what we're gonna be doing today is actually painting the front and rear reflectors to be paint matched with the body. I was able to get some paint matched spray cans from Touch Up Direct that comes with a clear coat, and we are going to be painting these reflectors as well as this trim piece right here in the engine bay. I just think it stands out being bare metal, and I think if it was body colored, it'd look a lot better. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and start by removing this trim piece in the front. We're then gonna remove these front reflectors, and then we're gonna jump into the back and remove the rear reflectors. So to get this panel out, we actually have to remove this plastic cover right here with all of these trim clips. So let's go ahead and take this out real quick. Once we have those trim clips removed, we're gonna go ahead and release these clips with a flathead screwdriver, as well as pulling up this shielding right here so that it's separated from the headlight. So you're just gonna be putting your screwdriver in and releasing these tabs all the way down. Now we can go ahead and pull this trim piece off, and that exposes all of the bolts for this cover right here. The next thing we're gonna need is a 13 mil as well as a T30. We're gonna go ahead and take all of these bolts off right here, as well as these two T30 bolts. And then we can release the clips for the hood latch release, as well as these clips for the radiator support. Now that we have all the bolts removed, we're gonna go ahead and release this cable right here from all of these clips. Now this is clear, we can slide it underneath the cable and it should come out. For painting, we are gonna be removing these radiator support pieces out of this. You're just gonna go ahead and release all four of these clips inward, and then it should come out of this piece and it should be ready to paint. All right, guys, once you get all of those released, you can go ahead and pull this cover out just like that. It is kind of a pain. Now that we've got this out, we're gonna go ahead and clean it up with some isopropyl alcohol, as well as scuff down the whole surface just to make sure there's no oils or any grease on it. And then we're gonna go ahead and spray this up. All right, guys, so now we're moving on to these front reflectors. These are actually just glued in with 3M tape, and you can actually get to them into this vent right here. So we're just gonna turn the wheel to the right so we can access this one. We're gonna heat it up with the heat gun as much as possible and pry it back from the inside of the bumper. So we're actually just gonna be sliding this all the way up behind the reflector to separate the glue, just like that. Then once you get it behind both sides, you can just spread it up, slicing the glue as you go. Once it's all the way separated, just go ahead and pull it out of this vent. There is some leftover residue. We're gonna go ahead and scrape all of this off with a razor blade, as well as get any of the residue inside of the wheel well off so that when we put it back on, it sits as flush as possible. All right, guys, so we got the front reflectors off as well as the front cover panel we're gonna be painting. The next thing is to remove these rear reflectors from the bumper. There isn't really a ton of access. If you guys watch the Keys Motorsports channel, there is a way you can get to these by removing the rear taillights and spreading this out and reaching your hand down in there. I think it's gonna be a lot easier in the long run just to take the entire bumper off. So we're gonna go ahead and release the screws on the side as well as the screws along the bottom and on both sides and release the clips. I'll show you guys how to do that. First things first, we're gonna jack the car up into the air so that we can get access to the bolts inside of the wheel liner. All right, guys, so we're gonna start by opening up the trunk. There is these two trim panels right here, and these are covering up a bolt underneath. So what we're gonna do is just go ahead and pull these out from underneath the coverings right here. You're gonna pop it up and out. There's a couple of clips in the back side of these, so just make sure you keep track of those. This just snaps down in, and then these upper clips just hold it in up top. That exposes this bolt right here that we're gonna be removing on both sides in order to get the bumper out. So now that both of those are out, we're gonna move on to the bottom side and in the wheel wells, we're gonna start taking off all of the bolts down there. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and take off these bolts along the side, and there's one actually going up into the bumper to hold it on. The rest of this is just held on by clips. So we're gonna go ahead and get these all off. I have a couple extra bolts to remove just because I have these aftermarket mud flaps on here, but I'm gonna be taking these off as well as disconnecting the bumper right there. All right, guys, we got all of the bolts removed from both sides and the bottom. All we need to do now is release the clips on both sides and then walk the bumper off and set it down somewhere. Inside, you're gonna have to disconnect for the parking sensors. It's just one plug right here, and then once that's off, the whole bumper will come out. All right, guys, so we got the bumper removed from the car. Now it's gonna make it a lot easier to get to these clips without breaking them and release the reflectors from the back side of the bumper. So all you're gonna do is squeeze these clips right here while pushing in on the reflector and pop it down to the other side. All right, guys, just like that, we have both reflectors out. We can go ahead and sand these up with the front ones. We'll get them primered and get them painted the body color. All right, guys, so we got all the pieces we're gonna paint out of the car as well as our painting supplies right here. So we are going to be cleaning this piece off with isopropyl alcohol as well as scuffing it up just a little bit. It's already bare, so there's not really any prep we're gonna need to do for this one. We're just gonna spray the primer, spray the color, and then do a clear coat at the end. These ones over here, because they're so smooth, the paint will have a hard time adhering to it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some sandpaper and we're gonna finely sand these until they're hazy. Once they're hazy, we can go ahead and clean them off with isopropyl alcohol again to make sure there's no grease or any dust on these, and then we're gonna do our primer and paint over the top. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start by cleaning this, getting these all sanded up, and then we'll paint. All right guys, so we got these reflectors all sanded up, as well as getting this panel Scotch-Brighted. All of it has been cleaned with isopropyl alcohol, and I'm gonna go ahead and spray down some automotive primer, and then we're gonna do the color, and then we're gonna do the clear. Let's go ahead and jump into painting these. Can't wait to see what they look like on the car. All right guys, so this has been a couple minutes. It's tacked up. It's not completely dry, but I'm gonna go ahead and spray the first coat of color, and then we'll see how it looks after, maybe do a second coat, and then move on to the clear. All right guys, so it has been a couple minutes. The first color coat is tacked. We're gonna go ahead and spray another color coat. All right, it has been another few minutes. This is still a little bit tacky, but we're gonna go ahead and start spraying our first coat of clear. We're gonna do a really light coat, and then on the second coat, we're gonna do it a little bit heavier. All right guys, it has been 48 hours. We let all of these pieces dry, let all the clear coat dry. We ended up using a different clear coat. We used a 2K clear. I had a little bit of orange peel in the original clear, so I sanded it down and re-cleared them with a 2K clear, and I think it looks a lot better. We're just gonna do a little bit of wet sanding, and then we're gonna throw them back on the car. All right guys, we got all the pieces done and ready to go back in the car. We're gonna start in the rear bumper, snapping these back into place, and then we're gonna throw the rear bumper back on the car, re-securing all the bolts. All right guys, we got the rear on, we got these reflectors painted. I think it makes a huge difference. It looks great. It's super close to the OEM paint, so I'm super happy with that. We're gonna go ahead and lower down the rear and start working getting on that front engine cover, and then we're gonna move on to the front reflectors. All right guys, the last thing we need to put on is these front reflectors. We are going to be using some 3M molding tape for automotive. It's going to be going around the edges. We're just going to trim it to fit. We'll heat up these and the inside of the plastic panels on the fenders, and then get these seated in there and make sure they sit flush. All right guys, we just finished up the install. We got the front engine cover as well as the front reflectors and the rear reflectors painted and installed in the car. I think they look awesome. It really blends into this front bumper and it's barely noticeable. It's a lot better than those bright orange and red reflectors that stand out a ton. And I think the engine cover really just adds a nice touch to the engine bay. It looks how it should from factory and not incomplete and just unpainted. If you guys like this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to check out some more content, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.